Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Noah Unleashed. If you're new here, hi, I'm Melball. Welcome to Noah Unleashed. This is a weekly news and review show where I follow the Japanese wrestling promotion, Pro Wrestling Noah. If you're not new here, welcome back to the glorious chaos that is me. We have a great show lined up for you today. We are talking about the Noah Sunny Voyage show that happened on June 22nd, which finally got put onto the Wrestle Universe show. We have another showing of Will Kroos in there. We had matches that made me laugh. We had matches that almost made me cry. And we had an incredible main event featuring the two prominent champions in the company. You've had the world champion GHC World Heavyweight Champion Ozawa taking on the GHC Junior Heavyweight champion champion Yo-Hey. But before we get into all of that, you guys, I need you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can be alerted every time I drop a new video here for ya. So, without further ado, we are going to get into this episode. But first, I wanted to start off with a few confirmations of matches that are going on. So, your little news report, I guess, of the matches coming up. So, the first match that we have coming up is going to be for the GHC Women's Championship, which is going to see the champion Takumi Iroha taking on Victoria Yuzuki from Marigold on June 31st at Wrestle Magic. I am super excited about this. I am very much on the Iroha train. I love what I'm seeing from her. She's so talented. She has such a very unique moveset that I'm excited to see in combination with Victoria Yuzuki, who has also been working very, very hard in Marigold and in Stardom beforehand. She's been a champion at Marigold. I haven't watched Marigold in quite some time, but I'll have to catch up with that after catching up with Noah here. So then moving on to the next match that I had to talk about, which is also a Wrestle Magic match, is going to be for the GHC Hardcore Championship, and that's going to see the champion Shuji Ishikawa taking on my favorite, Hayata. I had a roller coaster of emotions when I first saw the challenge kind of laid down, because at first I'm like, yes, Hayata is my favorite. I want to see him in all of the belts. So for me, I was like, yeah, cool, let's go. Then I was like, oh no, it's the hardcore championship, and I'm not a hardcore person. Kind of got a little scared, but then back to the happy, because Pro Wrestling Noah puts on good hardcore matches. They're not grotesque. They're not gross for the sake of being gross and Crimson Mask and everything unnecessarily. It's organized chaos. It makes sense. It's chair shots. It's kendo sticks. It's going out into the crowd and smashing people's heads on stuff. It's it's good. It makes sense, and it's not grotesque. So that being said, and knowing also how unique Hayata is, we know that this is going to be a fun and unique match. So, from speaking of Hayata, Hayata is also challenging his friend and tag team partner, GHC Jr. champion Yo-Hey, for his title. Now, that is not going to be happening at Wrestle Magic, though. That is going to be happening July 19th at the New Departure Day 1 show. So we got to wait a little bit for that, but I'm excited because both these guys, they have an interesting way of preparing for matches. Yo-Hey very loud and out there, and I love that about his personality. He just kind of laughs in everyone's faces and kind of rolls with the punches, whereas Hayata is very calm, very that quiet riot kind of a guy. So I'm curious to see how these two kind of go into this match. Is there going to be promos back and forth? Are they going to be not so nice with each other? Hayata has had a tendency to say some not nice things about Yohei in the past, but we're going to forget about that because they're good now. They're the happy married couple again. So, also happening on the New Departure Day 1 show, we are going to finally see the GHC World Heavyweight Champion Ozawa taking on Keno. And who isn't ready for Keno to get kicked in the face? I know I am. I've been saying it for a little bit. So that all being said, those are our matches going into the next couple of weeks. Which one are you guys excited for the most? I'm gonna be real. I am so excited for the GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship match between Yohei and Hayata because I have been really on the junior train this year. They have been doing so well, not just in Pro Wrestling Noah, but in general with junior booking. So I'm excited to see that match go down. So without further ado, let's get into match one of the Sunny Voyage show from June 22nd, and it was a singles match featuring Kaito Kiyomiya and Atsushi Kotoge. I had a lot of fun with this match. This match was exactly what I expected out of these two, so let's get into it. So the sportsmanship start, both men shaking hands and shaking hands nicely and willingly. Always love to see that, especially like nowadays sometimes, with the North American stuff, someone will go for the handshake and it's like every freaking show it just gets slapped away or not reciprocated. It's really nice to see the handshake actually happen. So there's a nice series of headlocks, reversals, chain wrestling kind of going on in the beginning here with Kiyomiya catching Kotoge in a toe hold. But then Kotoge reverses into a headlock, and then Kiyomiya attempts a pin off of that. These guys so smart, so good, so very well educated, so experienced, just clearly knowing each other well enough that they can easily reverse each other's moves back and forth. So Kiyomiya knocks Kotoge down with a shoulder block, but Kotoge manages to trip up Kiyomiya when he flips over to do that little trip attempt. And when he hits the ropes, Kiyomiya actually ends up like really kind of stumbling and falling down to the outside. So Kiyomiya takes his time getting back into the ring, kind of pacing around a bit. It was very interesting. But what was even more interesting is Kotoge let him come back in. Usually Kotoge can be really on top of people and not really letting them kind of do their thing. I was very surprised about this and very pleasantly surprised. There was a big drop kick by Kiyomiya drop kick by Kotoge on Kiyomiya that finally knocks Kiyomiya off of his feet. Kotoge feeding kicks to Kiyomiya, but he absorbs all of them before sending him into the ropes and knocking him down with a big boot. Kotoge then goes to the top where Kiyomiya just kind of yeets him off, um, which, just grabs and throws. Very, very simple but very effective move for him there. European uppercuts by Kiyomiya, but Kotoge is able to go into a backslide off of one of them. Kiyomiya with a half crab, but Kotoge is able to crawl to the ropes. He did keep him in there a good long while, though. Kiyomiya with a jumping elbow for two, and then Kiyomiya kicking the ropes while Kotoge. Ooh, no, Kiyomiya kicking Kotoge while he is on his knees, but this just fires up Kotoge, and then he comes back with some loud chops. But Kiyomiya is able to answer with a one solid European uppercut. And so Kotoge with a big PK to the face of Kiyomiya, and then follows up with a big body press for two. Kotoge able to get his chokes in the ropes. That makes me happy. I love that choke. I know that the ref has to count him out right away. He usually does too. He's usually on top of him, but I do love that he always tries to get away with that choke. So jumping clothesline by Kiyomiya and then a standing drop kick followed by a missile drop kick for two. Kotoge hitting a jumping pump kick, but Kiyomiya answers with a tornado forearm. But Kotoge throws his head back, causing Kiyomiya to lose his grip and balance, and then Kotoge hits him with an air raid crash for two. Kotoge setting up for the kill switch, but Kiyomiya is able to push him away. And when Kotoge kind of comes back off the ropes trying to do a pump kick, Kiyomiya grabs the legs and then feeds him a dragon screw leg whip. I love me a dragon screw leg whip. Shining Lancer by Kiyomiya, and then Kiyomiya gets a Shining Lancer sword to follow up after that, but he only gets two. Going into the finish here, so Kiyomiya drops Kotoge and then goes to the top with a diving, flashing elbow for the win. This was a really great opener. I'm really liking how no matter what Kotoge does, he still comes out looking very, very strong. And this was a great showcase match for both Kiyomiya and Kotoge. Really, really fun opener. I felt really even back and forth until it wasn't. But yeah, really, really fun match to start the show off with. So we're going to go into match number 2. This was a fun match, tag match, featuring the team of Eita and Super Crazy taking on the team of Alejandro and Kai Fujimura. So this was an interesting match. Eita having faced both Alejandro and Kai Fujimura earlier in the year when he was the GHC Jr heavyweight champion, being challenged by both the brothers here. It was really fun to see them back in the ring together and very interesting to see how the dynamic had we'll say changed, altered maybe. Let's talk about it. So Eita offering the handshake to both Fujimura and to Alejandro, and after some convincing, Fujimura actually accepts the handshake without incident. Without incident. There was no problem with the handshake. Alejandro, though, a little suspicious, and rightfully so. Eita has been kind of like on an interesting roller coaster this year of emotions on if he's good, if he's bad, if he's heel, if he's face. Eita not deterred by it, though, still offering the hand. Alejandro slaps it away, much to the unhappiness of the crowd. I don't usually hear Alejandro getting booed. He got booed heavily for this, but we'll see how that plays in later in the match. So Fujimura and Super Crazy starting off and having some fun with the chain wrestling, arm wrenches and stuff until Super Crazy gets caught in one and then makes it to the ropes. Fujimura most likely going for a Tope con Hilo, but Super Crazy hauls ass way into the back of the crowd. And goes around, comes back into the ring closer to Eita and able to tag out pretty quickly. So Eita and Alejandro in again in the handshake. Perpetual problem. So he goes for a handshake again. Eita just sitting there. Come on, shake my hand. Alejandro accepting eventually, but showing why he wouldn't accept it to begin with, as Eita does pull him into an arm wrench and starts a series of reversals with Eita and Alejandro. So shoulder block from Eita, who then hits the ropes and back rolls over Alejandro, who is trying to trip him. He helps Alejandro up with the kip up arm drag kind of thing, but then Alejandro gets up and hits a springboard arm drag and a drop kick on Eita for his troubles. Fujimura in with a whip on Alejandro into Eita in the corner, and then Alejandro drops down into the table position for Fujimura to vault off in, and then the brothers hit their cartwheel drop kicks, but unfortunately Fujimura only gets a 2. So back and forth pin attempts, exhausting the ref. I'm sure it was just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and this ref was jumping. He was jumping around for everything. It was hilarious, but again, only 2s before Eita hits a nasty, nasty PK. So Super Crazy are in, putting Fujimura in that Mexican surfboard, and I just giggled because man, that thing looks painful, but man, does it look pretty effortless when Super Crazy is doing it. So a handspring back elbow by Alejandro to Eita in the corner, followed by a bulldog, but Super Crazy comes in to help him out, and they go for but he gets a double drop kick from Alejandro for his trouble. Alejandro going into a vaulting splash over the ropes, but Eita actually gets his knees up, hits him with the gut. Tag team, double team, flapjack by Super Crazy and Eita on Alejandro, plus the Viva Mexico twisting elbow drop by Super Crazy, but Fujimura in to break up the pin. So going into the finish here, Fujimura tries for a body press on Eita, but Eita gets out of the way and leaves Fujimura in a heap on the outside. Back in the ring, Super Crazy picks up Alejandro, but Alejandro is able to wiggle free and sends Super Crazy over, ties up the arm, and pins Super Crazy with a La Magistral for the win, much to the upsetness of both Super Crazy and Eita, who left the ring pretty quickly afterwards, allowing Fujimura and Alejandro to have their little celebration. This was a really fun match. I'm really interested in how they're kind of playing Eita right now. He's kind of going through a bit of an evolution. Still very much a crowd favorite and very much um over with the crowd. Super Crazy having a great tour, still over with the crowd, having fun, doing really awesome against people like Fujimura, against people like Alejandro here. Yeah, just a really, really fun match altogether. Really great follow up from the first match. So going into the second match was also a tag team match and featured my favorite Hayata tagging with Daiki Odashima to take on Amamiya, the team of Amaska and Junta Miyawaki. So Hayata and Miyawaki starting off the match and had a really good back and forth before Hayata tags in Odashima, who does the most adorable little tope into the ring. And then on to Miyawaki, pinning him for two. So Maska in with Miyawaki, and they drop kick Odashima, and then leaves a Maska for the pin to, but he only gets two. That was a weirdly worded sentence. Let's try that again, Melball. Maska in with Miyawaki, who drop kicks Odashima and leaves, so Maska can get the pin for two. Odashima matching the speed of a Mosca, and Mosca very, very fast, very, very quick, and hitting some big strikes along the way. Very, very impressed with how Odashima has just been going this year. They are really booking him very, very well. Each match he does, he looks stronger and stronger and stronger, irregardless of the results. So Odashima making the tag and Hayata coming in, hitting an atomic drop, and then a leg lariat followed by a kip up. Miyawaki picking up speed and knocks Hayata off of his feet with a back elbow and then follows up with a missile drop kick for two. Odashima back in with a big crossbody press for two on Amaska and then follows it up with his signature three gut wrench suplexes. I am loving the gut wrench suplexes from Odashima because he does them he's so snappy with them. It gets them over so quick. And crazily enough, his third one seems to be his strongest. He doesn't fatigue at all. He gets stronger, which is crazy. So Hayata in to help and then release suplex on Odashima. Oh, okay. Hayata in to help, and he does a release suplex on Odashima to get a press on Amaska for two. It was a really, really cool little tag team move by them. I wasn't expecting to see too many tag team moves with these two, but I was very impressed to see them working very well together. So Amaska hits this wheelbarrow rolling thing on Odashima. Wheelbarrow roll. Oh, okay. Yes. Going into my favorite move in professional wrestling. So Amaska hits, so he jumps onto Odashima in a wheelbarrow kind of position, rolls him through, catches the legs, and pulls him up into a dingle dangle. I love a dingle dangle. It's not called a dingle dangle, but because I'm childish and I also struggle with remembering and learning move names, that's just what I call it. I believe the technical name for it is a hanging billy goat's curse, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't really care either because I think the dingle dangle is the best name for it. And then Junta Miyawaki comes in and feeds for Odashima a dropkick to the face, but they only get two. So, Miyawaki hitting his second high body press on HAYATA on the outside. Odashima kicking out of everything in the meantime, doing his absolute best. Going into the finish here, though, Amaska hits a drop kick for two, then follows up with, I believe, a corkscrew splash off the top there for the win. Holy heck. I mean, I was a little upset that Hayata was on the losing end, and especially when he's going into two title matches. But man, this match didn't take away from his what's the word? Didn't take away from his momentum, I think is the right word, going into these matches. And it's not taking away from Odashima as well. And it just strengthens how the tag team of Amamiya looks. So I actually had a wonderful time with this match. I would have liked to see Hayata pick up a win. However, I'm satisfied with how everything went. So, moving into match number 4, this is another tag team match, and this was tagging between Will Kroos and Black Mensore, taking on Kazuyuki Fujita and Hajime Ohara. This was a really fun match. The first match we saw with Will Kroos, we saw just unquestionable dominance, and he almost seemed like he was definitely a heel. This match, I was like, he can do both. He can go back and forth. He teamed very, very well with Black Mensore. So let's get into it, you guys. So Fujita out with his sippy sips. Gotta love him with his little sippy sip energy drink thingies. I love that he's out there. And what I love even more is that I wanted to see Will Kroos taking on Fujita, and I was not disappointed. So Fujita and Kroos starting out, and it is just like a brick wall hitting a bigger brick wall. These guys were immovable, just hitting each other with everything they had and just not being able to put the other down. So Ohara tagging in, and Kroos tags out to Mensore. And Ohara and Mensore having a really fun exchange actually with the crowd. Um, as they're getting the crowd to cheer their little catchphrases. So Mensore doing the, za, and then O'Hara doing the muy bien. Oh, I almost couldn't do that, and I'm supposed to be French Canadian. Oof, failing on that part. Anyway, so they go to every end of the crowd, and the last one, when they're right in the camera, O'Hara goes for his muy bien, and Black Mensore rolls him up, but O'Hara denies him that, and they start having some fun tossing each other around. Mensore tosses O'Hara to the outside and gets everybody in the room to do the za. I was very happy about that. And even O'Hara sat down and started cheering from the crowd for a little bit. It was really adorable spot. So Kroos coming in for a double team and chops O'Hara while Mensore is holding him, but he chops him so hard that Mensore even goes flying out of the back there. O'Hara then begging Kroos not to do it again. Just no, 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 no. And fair. I mean, he tenderized his titties into Mensore's behind him. I can understand why he wouldn't want to have another one of those. Even in the backstage comments afterwards, you could see O'Hara, he's pretty tan. It's very hard to see if he has any kind of discoloration on his skin. His chest was very red. You could see it through the tan. Um, so yeah, O'Hara begging Kroos not to hit him again and is able to reverse the double team, sending Mensore into Kroos, and Kroos actually um, hitting Mensore with a shoulder block and then getting drop kicked out. So Fujita back in and manhandling Mensore before putting him in a half crab. And then as he's crawling towards the rope, O'Hara is just pulling back on the ropes and yelling at him to give up. And I started laughing because you know in the back of his head he doesn't want to get back in the ring with Kroos. So Kroos getting in, blocking a strike, and delivering a bodily scoop body slam effortlessly to Fujita before running in on him on the corner and feeding him a very stiff lariat and a senton for two. freaking crazy part of the match. I absolutely loved it though. Kroos lifting up Fujita for a pile driver, but Fujita is able to get out and deliver a German suplex, dazing Kroos in the ring there. So O'Hara back in and trying to trip Kroos, but by doing a crossbody, or sorry, tries to trip Kroos, but ends up getting a crossbody before Mensore comes back in. So Mensore going for the rope walk on O'Hara, but O'Hara just kind of pulls his arm out, and Mensore falls and nuts himself on the top ropes. There's a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, followed by the muy bien by O'Hara, but Kroos does come in to break that up. So going into the finish here, Kroos sneaks in, and chops O'Hara and Mensore's souls out of their bodies in the corner there. Mensore was against the corner. O'Hara was on top of him. He feeds him 3 chops in the corner, and he goes for a body splash, but O'Hara does move out of the way, causing Kroos to squishy Mensore. And then Fujita comes in, suplexing Kroos out of the ring. O'Hara hits the ropes, double axe swing for the win. Mensore got crushed. It was a very funny but also serious wrestling match. I loved that there was undertones of comedy happening while not taking away from the seriousness of what was going on. It was really, really fun. Um, I'm excited to be able to say that I can cross off I saw Kroos take on Fujita. Next, I would love to see Sugiura. Please. Please and thank you. Because that would be phenomenal. Phenomenal. Another big meaty men slapping meat match. So we're going to go into match 5 now. And this was a 6-man tag match featuring the Johnester Boys. Manabu Soya, Daiki Inaba, and Saxon Huxley taking on... with Kenta, I don't know if it's the Garlic Boys. I just call them Team Kick because they all kick really well. Ulka Sasaki, Kenta, and Keno. So the Johnester Boys getting so hyped, getting so energetic, getting so worked up before this match. It was phenomenal. This is the energy I need for the rest of the year. Just Johnester! Nah! Manabu Soya needs to be my role model. I think that's what it is. Inaba and Keno starting, and Inaba doing his Johnester to the crowd, pissing off Keno, and Keno just takes out, as does Inaba. So Soya and Sasaki now in, and they're doing the test of strength with Soya finally unlocking his Johnester and pushing Sasaki down, but Sasaki is actually able to come back out of there, working very technically and just kind of staying out of the way of Soya's grabs and holds. So Kenta in and Huxley also in. So Kenta puts Huxley in a headlock. And Huxley just kind of picks him up and puts him down, like kind of, I don't know if he was just reminding him of how much bigger and stronger he is, but it was really funny to me because Kenta at that point was like, uh-oh, I kind of got to start moving. At that point, Kenta hits the ropes and feeds Huxley one of his big kicks, but Huxley is not affected at all. And even after a second boot, still not affected. Huxley then goes for his own big boot, but Kenta avoids and starts to feed strikes to Huxley as well as a spinning back fist, but Huxley does catch the fist and bites the hands. Starts nom-nom-nomming. He's been, hanging out with Alpha Wolf too much, maybe. I don't know. But Huxley then goes for a choke slam, but Kenta returns the favor, nom-nomming on Huxley's hand. My dog is just making some noise under my chair here. Okay, bites the hand. There we are. So after that point, there's not too much going on after with Kenta and Huxley just flowing into everything just as effortlessly as Soya and Sasaki beforehand. Inaba eventually in and trying to help out on the apron, but just gets booted by Kenta for his trouble. And then at one point, Kenta deals with him by letting him body splash Huxley. Inaba not doing so hot this match. It started kind of seem like he's kind of like just always in the way. He's not really doing anything functional. And I think that's the story here that we're going to start to see. And we'll talk about it a little bit more after. So Inaba and Kenta battle outside. Huxley is legal though, not Inaba. So Huxley does end up pulling Kenta back in the ring and gives him an elbow for 2. Soya is starting to get frustrated with Inaba not being to hit everything. So Soya and Huxley do kind of come in and kind of start doing things. But it was really funny because every time Inaba would then finally go to do something to Kenta, he couldn't hit it. Like Soya would run in and he wouldn't get his foot or anything up and he'd hit Kenta. Huxley would run in and hit Kenta, but then Inaba would run in and Kenta somehow got the foot up. Kenta somehow got his arm up. It was a story of frustration for Inaba in this match. There was a double team shoulder block from Soya and Huxley. Sasaki, though, in with arm drags to Soya and Inaba, but Huxley too powerful, and he needed a jawbreaker and a leg lariat instead. Inaba back in and finally starts hitting everything until Sasaki rattles him with a strike and hits a suplex. Keno then comes in and kind of being a dick. Keno's in a dick phase, though. He's kind of being mean to everybody, so we'll let him be, and, well, as much as we can, we'll let him be. But yeah, he starts doing everything on Inaba until Inaba muscles him up for a suplex and starts serving him his battering ram spears in the corner. So Kenta locks full Nelson on Inaba, but he's able to his way out of that. But Kano does lock on to the wrist, hits a German suplex. Or sorry, not on the wrist, the waist, and hits a German suplex immediately, which Inaba responds with a jumping high kick and then hits the ropes, but Keno catches him and locks him into the Keno special. So, Soya and Huxley do try to come in as Inaba is trapped in the Keno special. However, Kenta and Sasaki kind of yeet them out of the ring to stop them and interfere. So going into the finish, triple team kick to Inaba, followed by the PK for 2 by Keno. Keno then locks on the Keno special again in the middle of the ring. Soya comes in to try to help, but he gets caught by Kenta in an abdominal stretch. And I couldn't really tell because I only had one camera for this show, but Huxley looked to be tied up in the rope somehow by Sasaki. And Inaba is forced to submit. This was a really fun match. I really like the story that they're kind of playing here with Inaba, kind of not being able to hit everything. He's a champion now. He should be doing better. And Soya did tell him about this kind of after. He's like, "You're the champion now. We need to start really focusing." And I have hope. I have a lot of hope that Inaba is going to be able to kind of pull himself out of this little rut and continue, being a champion with Soya. So moving on from here, we're going to go into match number 6, which was an 8-man tag match, and I had so much fun with this match. So the first team, the team of Naomichi Marufuji, Tetsuya Endo, and Los Golpeadores, Dragon Bane, and Alpha Wolf, taking on Team 2000X, the combination of Takashi Sugiura, Daga, Tadasuke, and Owadasan. I'm a big Team 2000X girl, but I'm also a big Los Golpeadores, Marufuji, and a big Tetsuya Endo fan. This match had me a little kind of torn back and forth. Every time someone was hitting a move, I was like, yay, ah, yay, ah. It was a really fun match though, so let's get into it. So Daga and Marufuji starting, and boy howdy did these guys go. Hitting the ropes, reversal, reversal, reversal. The chain wrestling out of these two was absolutely phenomenal. Really super fun start. So Dragon Bane and Owadasan, and now an Owadasan, making the mistake of provoking Alpha Wolf on the outside, who comes in with Dragon Bane to just start stomping the ever-living crap out of him, which I found amusing, given that they were stealing all of Dragon Bane's masks. So double team by the champions on Owadasan with a pop-up flapjack by Dragon Bane, the second rope moonsault by Alpha Wolf, and then the standing moonsault by Dragon Bane for 2. Tadasuke coming in with a dermal destroyer. That just makes me cringe. I can't imagine that would be enjoyable to get. And he continued to do it on the outside. This was the period of time I didn't know a lot of what was going on. The venue was beautiful and set up very, very cool. The entrance ramps were very visible. There was really interesting entrance lighting, but the lighting for the matches was a little dark. They did have the audience not lit up, which was totally fine. Unfortunately for this part of the match, though, that kind of ended up being a bit of a detriment because I couldn't see what was really happening on the outside, and I don't really know if maybe audience members could. I do recall throughout the show, sometimes you couldn't really see who was on the apron either. So if you guys were doing stuff on the apron, you couldn't really see what was going on. But they did kind of get back into it after they do what they do because, Team 2000X has to take it to the outside at some point. So back in the ring, Owadasan and Dragon Bane, and he tries to take off the mask, but Dragon Bane does prevent him. Sugiura coming in and hammering Bane with strikes and a back elbow, and he continues to muscle around Bane until he hits him with a back elbow and tags in Tetsuya Endo. So Endo comes in, clearing the apron, but then being sent to the corner where he boots Sugiura, then yeets Daga, and then does his signature handspring backflip kick to both Sugiura and Tadasuke before getting his hands on Owadasan and giving him a powerbomb backbreaker. Then this is why I love Tetsuya Endo as much as I do. He is so fast, so good, but there's just the ability he has to get from one to the other to the other to the other. It's just insanely fast, insanely good. So Sugiura in with a spear, followed by a running knee in the corner for 2. Then with an avalanche brainbuster off the second rope for 2. Marufuji throwing all the hands at Daga. Daga, though, effortlessly avoiding every single one before hitting Marufuji with a hook kick for 2. Alpha Wolf coming in, nom-nomming on Daga, fresh meat. And then with his buckle kip senton to Daisuke, so that's that, throwing his head in the corner, kicking the buckle, and then doing the that vaulting moonsault the vaulting, senton in. That would be a moonsault, actually. Quadruple team on Tadasuke with them all running in elbows and then Marufuji doing the back chop. Los Golpeadores then do the double team hip toss and everyone but Marufuji rolls, but everyone does the kick. I love it. It was so much fun. I love these guys teaming together. So from here, we do Dragon Bane has a wicked jumping knee, plus the double birds, plus the poison rana, and almost a 3. It would have been a 3, I think, but Tatsu, and is this why we don't like Tatsu? Tatsu is pulling out the ref. It was really funny. It was almost like watching a cartoon and the ref just slid out of frame. So going into the finish, Tadasuke attempts a roll-up, which Dragon Bane blocks until Owadasan comes in and pulls off the mask. Dragon Bane reacting, covering up. Tadasuke lawn chairs him for the pin. Boo. I was having so much fun with this match, and then that happened. I hate how that ended. It's very Team 2000X though. It's very, and especially the story that they're doing right now with Owadasan and Tadasuke stealing the masks of Dragon Bane to just really antagonize them. I'm looking forward to Los Copiadores getting their hands on these guys and getting Dragon Bane's masks back. Yeah, this also really for me solidifies Team 2000X as those dastardly heels. They're doing their damnedest to be those guys, and I kind of love it because they're so effective and so functional with what they do, and they do it with the all for one and one for all kind of mentality. It's very relatable. Do I want to be saying that? We're going to anyway. So, going into the main event of the evening, match number 7. Match number 7. We have the singles match, champion versus champion, GHC World Heavyweight Champion Ozawa taking on GHC Jr. Heavyweight Champion Yohei. Hey, Yohei. So to come out, all of the team, except for Jack Morris, who's wrestling, I believe, somewhere in Scotland. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check his Instagram again. But everyone but Morris with the team out to support Ozawa. Only Huxley and Soya out with Yohei, the numbers game. That's a concern. You know that's going to be a concern, especially where Team 2000X is concerned. And it was. So let's get into it. So Ozawa, doing a little dance while trying to lock up with Yohei. It's a little shimmy, 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 Jimmy, shimmy, Jimmy. Baffling Yohei a little bit. He's kind of like, what the fuck? What's going on with this guy? Before backing into the ropes and asking Yohei to back off. Yohei doing the same thing, just way more goofier, and Ozawa not having the patience that he had, or that Yohei had with it beforehand, kicking him and starting the match immediately. So a tope con healer by Yohei, followed by a missile drop kick by for 2. Yohei then goes to hit the ropes, and instead Ozawa distracts the ref, allowing Tadasuke to introduce his chair to Yohei's back. Not very nice. Ozawa gets Yohei in a cravat lock, flips him over and does the psych out drop kick that Yohei typically does, and that's Yohei, or not Yohei, that's Ozawa. I almost said Yohei again. Oh my gosh. Ozawa. Isn't that like Ozawa to steal people's moves? But Yohei also stole the kill switch from Kotoge while they were kind of feuding, so you know there's going to be some fun back and forth. Ozawa stomps Yohei in the corner and then ties him up in the ropes and does the licky licky. Full Nelson into a snapmare and buckle moonsault for 2 by Ozawa. Ozawa back into the cravat and then nuzzling, like he's got him locked up and then nuzzling Yohei like a kitty down to the ground. But Yohei able to make it to the ropes. A jumping high kick by Yohei to come back, but Ozawa catches him on his second jump, flipping him over backwards, causing him to fall back into the ropes. Once in the ropes, Yohei lures Ozawa in and does a drop toe hold, sending Ozawa into the second ropes, which Yohei follows up with a double knee to the back of the head. Yohei then does the Ozawa buckle moonsault to Ozawa for 2, and isn't that turnabout? I had a little giggle on that one. Ozawa blocks the twist of fate, sending Yohei into the corner and feeding him a very tight drop kick, and then follows up with a huge missile drop kick. So then Ozawa sends Yohei to the outside. He does his little dancey dance while chaos is ensuing out there. Ozawa then going for that tornado kick he usually does, but Yohei ducks it and then hits Ozawa with 2 big thrust kicks and a kneeling common G for 2. Face G by Yohei, followed by the Super Face G for 2. Yohei with a thrust kick on Tatsu on the apron, and we can just celebrate that a little bit since we're hating on Tatsu. And a drop kick on Ozawa for 2. So a spinning heel kick by Ozawa to regain control, followed by a kip up, and then he imitates Yohei before performing his own Kamenji. Finish comes with the lick of death from Ozawa, followed by the real rebel, and Ozawa stands tall over Yohei. All of Team 2000X celebrate. This was fun. It's set for me because Yohei is one of my favorites, 2 favorites in this company. But boy, howdy, was this a fun match, showing off both champions to such an extreme. I was so happy, even though Yohei didn't win. I was so happy with this showing and that I got to experience seeing these two one-on-one again. I do enjoy seeing them when they're in with like other tag matches and stuff like that, but you don't get the same feel as you do when they have these kind of singles matches. So, yeah, that brings us to the end of the show, guys. What did you guys think? Did you guys get a chance to watch the show at all? What did we think about Ozawa taking on Yohei? Do you think that this was a really great showcase for both of these champions? Does it help? Does it hinder? How do we feel about Team 2000X? They seem to be like a functional house of torture. Like, and I appreciate, and I talk with my good friend Nathan about this all the time, how the parallel is starting to happen between War Dogs and Team 2000X with me, because they're younger, hungrier talent. You got very, very functional. They know when to do their shenanigans. They know when to sit on the outside. But then you have the rebels running both teams, the real one and the other one. It's curious. It's curious to see. What are you guys thinking about Will Kroos? This is the second time I've seen him. I think he's wrestled another match that I haven't had access to yet. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to double check. But 2 matches in, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. This guy can move. He can power through people. I mean, he lifted Fujita effortlessly in his match, and then teamed super well with the usually goofy Black Mensore. And man, poor Ohara, hope your chesticles are okay. So, that all being said, this is the end of Noah Unleashed. You guys, leave your thoughts and comments down below if you have any. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you can be alerted every time we drop a new video. Make sure you also follow OLE on all of its socials, which again are listed in the description box below. Make sure you check out Wrestle Universe for your access to Pro Wrestling Noah. It is 1,298 yen, or approximately 13 Canadian, depending on where our dollar bills are, but it's still a great price to get some amazing professional wrestling. And on top of getting access to Noah, you also get access to Tokyo Joshi Pro, you get access to Marigold, you get access to DDT. It's all companies you want to check out. There's 8 companies in total that you can get for that price, so go on and check it out. Links in the description box below. Make sure you also check out Pro Wrestling Noah's YouTube channel for any extra content, any extra interviews. They had a really fun video on there the other day with Yohei and HAYATA talking about their stuff and their feud going on, so I can understand a word of it, but I'm getting there. One day, I'm learning. Slowly but surely, I'm learning. If you want to follow a Melball, you can follow me on the X thing at Collins Melball, and you can follow me on everything else: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon, and Blue Sky at Melball Collins. You can also, you can also do that. I don't know where I was going with that, but we have come to the end of the video, guys. I am your Melball. Matane.